Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, where we go deeper than the rankings to find the real value on the college basketball board. The season is now in full swing, and Tuesday, November 4th, presents a fascinating slate of games that separate the sharp bettors from the casual fans. We're moving past the initial shock of opening day and starting to see which teams are who we thought they were, but there's still a ton of volatility, especially with so many rosters built entirely from the transfer portal. My philosophy this early is to tread lightly, no massive, bank-breaking bets just yet. The real value comes in a week or two when we get overreactions to a single good or bad performance. For now, we look for spots where the matchup dynamics, coaching systems, and returning production create a clear edge. Let's break down the 5 most intriguing games of the day. First up, we have a classic early season matchup between a powerhouse and a dangerous mid-major, the Nicholls Colonels visiting the Kentucky Wildcats. On the surface, this seems straightforward. Kentucky is a top 5 team in the KenPom ratings and a top 10 squad in the AP poll, loaded with talent under new coach Mark Pope. They retained a good chunk of their depth and brought in impactful transfers, and they should absolutely win this game at home. However, when you see a spread this steep in Game 1, you have to ask if the market is overvaluing brand name and raw talent over proven systems. This is where Nicholls becomes a very interesting play. Kevin Sadler's team is exceptionally well coached, particularly on the defensive end. Last season, they boasted the 13th best three-point defense in the country, holding opponents to a paltry 28% of their points from beyond the arc. Against a Kentucky team that might need a game or two to find its offensive rhythm, that defensive discipline is huge. Furthermore, Nicholls is not an easy team to blow out. They were top 15 in offensive turnover percentage last year, meaning they take care of the ball. They are a solid offensive rebounding team, and they can get to the free throw line. This isn't a team that will beat itself. While Kentucky likely grinds out a win, expecting them to cover such a large number against a disciplined, defensive-minded opponent in their first real test feels like a stretch. The value firmly lies with the Colonels to keep this within the number. Staying in the 7 p.m. Eastern slot, we turn our attention to a Sun Belt vs. American Athletic Conference clash between Georgia Southern and East Carolina. This is a game defined by uncertainty on one side and relative stability on the other. The entire Sun Belt is a nightmare to predict this year, and Georgia Southern epitomizes that chaos. They don't return a single starter from last year's squad, with a roster pieced together from overseas transfers and lower subdivision players. It's a complete unknown. On the other side, you have East Carolina under the steady guidance of coach Mike Schwartz. While the Pirates lost their top 2 scorers, Walker and Felton, they bring back a reliable anchor in guard Jordan Riley, who averaged around 15 points and 6 rebounds per game last season. Schwartz's system is known for its sound defensive principles, and that should provide a stable foundation while the new offensive pieces gel. The key question is whether East Carolina's offense can be potent enough to cover a sizable spread. Given the stark contrast in roster continuity and coaching stability, and the fact that Georgia Southern is essentially a blank slate that will need time to coalesce, the trust here has to be with the home team. East Carolina's defensive identity and more predictable roster construction should allow them to control this game from start to finish and secure a cover. As we move into the primetime window, a compelling matchup unfolds in the Big Ten as the Robert Morris Colonials travel to face the Iowa Hawkeyes. This game is a perfect case study in 2 different kinds of roster overhaul. Robert Morris is coming off a fantastic season where they went 15-5 in Horizon League play, won their conference, and gave Alabama a serious scare in the NCAA tournament, even leading late in the second half. The problem? They lost their entire starting lineup and most of their depth. Coach Andrew Toole has done a respectable job retooling via the transfer portal, and they'll likely be a factor in the horizon by season's end, but asking this brand new group to compete on the road against a high major opponent in their first game is a tall order. Iowa, meanwhile, presents a unique situation. While they also look like a completely new team, It's because their new coach, Ben McCullum, brought his entire core from a wildly successful Drake Bulldogs team with him to Iowa City. This isn't a team of strangers, it's a proven, cohesive unit that now has the resources of a Power 5 program. The chemistry and system familiarity are already in place. To add insult to injury for Robert Morris, Iowa even poached one of their best players from last season, Alvaro Fulgierez, who will provide invaluable intel on his former team's tendencies. All signs point to Iowa having too much chemistry, talent, and tactical insight for a rebuilding Robert Morris squad to handle. The headliner of the night is undoubtedly the neutral court blockbuster between the Texas Longhorns and the Duke Blue Devils in the Dick Vitale Invitational. Both of these blue blood programs are tasked with replacing immense NBA-level talent. Texas loses Trey Johnson, a 20-point-per-game scorer and the 6th overall pick, while Duke loses 2 top 5 picks in Cooper Flagg and Keelan. The difference lies in how they've reloaded. Duke, as per usual, has done so with an almost unfair level of recruiting success, bringing in a class that includes the highly touted Boozer brothers, Cameron and Caden. This is why they remain a top 10 team in the polls despite the massive personnel losses. For Texas, the challenge is twofold. They have significant production to replace in the frontcourt, and they are also implementing a new system under first-year head coach Sean Miller. While the backcourt of Jordan Pope and Tremond Mark is solid, the questions in the paint and the adjustment to a new coaching philosophy are significant concerns in a season opener against an opponent of this caliber. In a neutral site game where guard play and cohesion are paramount, Duke's superior talent infusion and more stable program foundation give them the edge. Expect a competitive first half, but for Duke's depth and talent to wear down Texas and pull away down the stretch. Finally, we cap the night with a late-night tip-off between the UT Martin Skyhawks and the UNLV Runnin' Rebels. This is a classic, system versus chaos, spot. I don't have lofty expectations for either team in their respective conferences this year, but UT Martin returns a solid core of 5 players from last year's roster, including several who could be considered starters. They have a baseline of continuity. UNLV, conversely, is a complete unknown under new head coach John Passner. It's a new system, a new roster built entirely from the transfer portal, and zero established chemistry. While UNLV has the talent advantage and is playing at home, laying this many points with a team that has never played a real game together is a very risky proposition. UT Martin, with its returning players, is precisely the kind of experienced, under-the-radar team that can hang around and exploit the early season disorganization of a favorite. I believe UNLV will likely win the game, but the path to a cover for UT Martin is clear. Keep it close for 30 minutes, and let the natural sloppiness of a season opener for a new-look favorite do the rest. The smart money in this late-night affair is on the Skyhawks to keep it within the number. Of course. Here is a compelling outro and call to action, CTA, designed to drive engagement and subscriptions for your Beyond the Box Score channel. And that wraps up our deep dive into a packed Tuesday college basketball slate. We've found value in underdogs with disciplined systems, trusted teams with continuity, and identified the spots where the public might be overvaluing a big name. The key takeaway is that the first week is for gathering information and playing it smart, not going all in. The real damage is done once we have a full picture, and we'll be here all season to break it down for you. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these Tuesday picks are you locking in? Did I convince you on Nicholls, or are you riding with Kentucky at home? Let me know your top play in the comments below. I read every single one. If you found this analysis valuable and want to make every bet count this season, your next move is to subscribe to Beyond the Box Score and hit the notification bell. We go beyond the headlines every single day to find the hidden edges that lead to long-term profit. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Beyond the Box Score.